The pot hissed angrily as the red palm oil bubbled inside. A cruel smile played on the lips of the woman, standing over it. Her name was Idiah, and her eyes burned with jealousy hotter than the oil itself. She gripped the handle of the small clay pot, turned suddenly, and in one swift, heartless motion, flung the scalding oil straight into the face of the young girl kneeling on the ground. A scream tore through the air, so sharp that even the birds of the rafters scattered in fright. Ao clutched her face, writhing, the smell of burning flesh mixing with the acrid scent of hot oil. Her world went dark, completely, utterly dark. She tried to blink, but there was nothing. No light, no shapes, only darkness and pain. The villagers, who had been gathered outside the small mud house for the evening storytelling, rushed in, but they froze at the sight before them. Idiah stood, her breathing calm, her face defiant, as if she had done nothing wrong. No one spoke a word. Then, from far above the forest canopy, an unnatural stillness spread across the land. The crickets stopped chirping, the wind stopped whistling, and somewhere beyond the horizon, the morning sun, which should have been preparing to rise, hesitated and refused to climb into the sky. In the heart of Iroko village, life flowed in a rhythm as old as the trees that shaded it. The air was always filled with the laughter of children chasing goats, the smell of yam roasting over fire pits, and the sound of pestles pounding fufu in steady, musical beats. People knew each other by name, and the elders always had a wise proverb ready for any situation. The village stood between two rivers, Oba and Ire, and was blessed with fertile soil that gave enough to feed everyone. The people believed their peace came from living in harmony with nature and obeying the laws of the ancestors. If a person respected these laws, they were safe. If they broke them, misfortune would come like a storm in the dry season. Ao was the kind of girl everyone in Iroko liked to greet. At 17, she had eyes like fresh palm kernels, bright and full of life, and a voice as soft as ripe plantain. She was known for her kindness. If someone's child was sick, she would run to the river for clean water. If an old woman's firewood was scattered, she would gather it without being asked. She lived with her father, Babo Lanei, and her stepmother, Idiah, who had come into their home after Ao's mother passed away. From the first day she entered, Idiah carried herself like a queen whose throne had been stolen. She smiled at the villagers, but behind closed doors, her kindness turned to stone. She gave Ao the hardest chores, fetching water before sunrise, washing piles of clothes until her fingers wrinkled, and cooking without rest. Babo Lanei did not see much of it. He was off in the fields or trading in the next village. At first, Ao tried to believe that her stepmother's harshness came from grief or the struggle of adjusting to a new life. She swallowed the insults, telling herself it would pass. But instead of easing, Idiah's cruelty grew like weeds in a fertile garden. One hot afternoon, the village prepared for the New Yam Festival. It was a time of drumming, dancing, and sharing food under moonlight. Ao, excited, pounded yam in the courtyard while humming a song her mother once sang to her. But her joy was short-lived. Idiah stormed out of the house, her face tight with anger. "You lazy girl," she barked. "I told you to finish washing those clothes before the sun touched the treetops." Ao looked toward the clothesline. The fabrics were clean and dripping in the sun, but Idiah's eyes burned as though she saw nothing but failure. "I'll finish after the pounding, Mama," Ao said softly, still trying to be respectful. Idiah's lips twisted. "Don't call me Mama, as if I gave birth to you." She snatched the pestle from Ao and threw it to the ground. "Go now, or you'll regret it." The other women in nearby compounds exchanged glances but said nothing. In Iroko, people believed it was bad luck to interfere between a husband's wife and his child. That evening, while the village gathered in the square for drumming practice, Ao sat alone near the small riverbank. She stared at her reflection in the water. The festival was meant to be a happy time, yet her heart felt heavy. She remembered her mother's warm laugh and the way she used to tell her that kindness would always bring light, even in darkness. The next morning, Babo Lanei announced he would travel to the next town for trading and would return in 3 days. Ao hoped those days would pass without trouble, but deep inside, she felt a knot of worry. She knew her stepmother's cruelty grew sharper when her father was away. She was right. That very afternoon, Idiah called her into the kitchen. The fire crackled, and a pot of palm oil sat heating on the stones. "Come here," Idiah said, her voice strangely calm. "You think you are clever, don't you? Smiling at the villagers, so they will love you more than me." Ao stepped back. "No, Mama. I mean, Idiah. I only—" "Shut up." Idiah snapped, taking a step closer. "I will teach you not to shine brighter than me in this house." Ao's eyes darted to the door, but before she could move, Idiah's hand reached for the clay pot, and in that moment, something told Ao that what was about to happen would change her life forever. The air in the small kitchen grew heavy, and Ao's heart pounded so loudly she could hear in her ears. The pot hissed, the palm oil bubbling angrily, spitting tiny drops onto the stones. Idiah's eyes did not blink. "You will not walk around this village acting like a queen when I am here," she said, her voice cold, each word sharper than the knife on the wooden shelf. "Mama, please," Ao whispered, her knees trembling. "I have done nothing to hurt you." "That's the problem," Idiah said, lifting the clay pot off the fire. "Your nothing is enough to hurt me." The scent of hot oil filled the room. Ao's mind spun. Should she run? Scream? But her body froze. In one swift motion, Idiah tilted the pot forward. The oil poured out in a shimmering red-gold stream. Ao barely had time to cry out before the searing heat splashed across her face. The pain was unlike anything she had ever known. It clawed at her skin, burning deep, while her scream tore through the house, out into the courtyard, and into the ears of everyone nearby. Neighbors rushed to the doorway, but stopped short, horror freezing them in place. They saw Ao clutch her face, thrashing on the ground, the smell of burned flesh mixing with the sharp scent of palm oil. They saw Idiah standing still, holding the empty pot as if nothing had happened. One old woman stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Idiah, what have you done?" "She disrespected me," Idiah replied, her tone calm, almost bored. "I have punished her." Some villagers murmured to each other, but none dared to challenge her directly. The law of Iroko was clear. What happened inside a man's household was his matter alone, and Babo Olenia was not there. Ao's sight dimmed quickly. The brightness of the fire faded, the colors of the room swallowed by a deep, endless black. She blinked furiously, but there was nothing. She could no longer see the hand she held before her face. Panic swallowed her chest. "I can't see," she screamed. "I can't see anything." Her cries were like a blade to the heart for some of the women watching, but fear held their feet in place. Only old Mamankiru, the village healer, knelt beside her. She tried to guide Ao's hands away from her face and whispered, "Child, we must cool it with water. Quick." But when they carried her to the water jar, it was too late. The damage was done. The healer's face was grave. Her eyes are gone. That night, the village felt different. It was too quiet. Even the wind seemed to have stopped breathing. The moon hung pale in the sky, and somewhere far beyond the hills, the morning sun hesitated, as if refusing to take its place in the sky. Whispers traveled fast. People said the ancestors were angry. Others said the gods themselves had closed the sky in protest. By dawn, the truth became clear. The rooster crowed, the drums of the fishermen beat against the shore, but the sun did not rise. Instead, the land was locked in an endless gray, and the shadows stayed long, as if the night refused to leave. That day, elders gathered in the square. "Something has happened that has shaken the balance of Iroko," the oldest among them said. "And until it is made right, our world will remain in darkness." From where she lay in Mamankiru's hut, Ao heard their words. She could no longer see the light, but she felt the weight of the village's fear. She knew in her heart that if anyone had to make things right, it would have to be her, blind or not. She sat up slowly, her hands still trembling. "Mamankiru," she whispered, "I must find a way to bring back the sun." The old woman looked at her with surprise. "Child, you cannot even see the path ahead. How will you do this?" Ao took a deep breath. "I don't know yet. But I will not let my father return to a village swallowed by darkness, and I will not let her win." The healer studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then you must be ready to leave this village and go where others fear to go. Ao's heart raced. Where? Mamankiru's voice dropped to a whisper. Into the forest of whispers to find the keeper of the morning. A chill ran down Ao's spine. She had heard stories of that place, how people entered but never returned. But if it was the only way to bring back the sun, she would go. And yet, as she prepared to leave, she heard the slow crunch of footsteps outside Mamankiru's hut. They were heavy, deliberate, and coming straight toward her. The footsteps stopped just outside the hut. Ao's ears sharpened. Ever since the darkness had claimed her eyes, she had begun to notice sounds she once ignored. She could hear the uneven rhythm of the person's breathing, the faint swish of cloth brushing against skin. Mamankiru stood quickly, grabbing her wooden staff. "Who is there?" she called, her voice steady but firm. A man's voice replied, deep and laced with caution. "It is me, Babo Lanei." Ao's heart skipped. "Father!" she gasped, struggling to stand. She reached forward, her hands searching until they touched the familiar roughness of his palms. "My daughter," he said, his voice shaking. "I came back early." The road felt wrong in the sky. He stopped, his throat tightening. "What happened to you?" Mamankiru's silence said more than any words could. Babo Lanei turned to her for answers, but Ao spoke first. "Idaya poured hot palm oil on my face, and now, Father, I cannot see." The hut seemed to grow smaller with the weight of those words. Babo Lanei's breathing turned heavy. "Where is she?" he growled. "She is in your compound," Mamankiru said. "But Lanei, something greater than your anger is at work here. The sun itself has refused to rise." Babo Lanei looked toward the dim light outside. "I saw it. It is as if the day has forgotten to begin." Ao tightened her grip on his hands. "Father, I must go into the forest of whispers. Mamankiru says there is someone there, the keeper of the morning, who might bring back the sun." Her father pulled his hands away. "No, that forest is cursed. People go in and never return." "Then let me be the one who returns," Ao said, her voice firm. "If I stay here blind and useless, what will become of me? But if I go, maybe I can save the village." Babo Lanei stared at her, torn between fear and the quiet pride swelling in his chest. Finally, he sighed deeply. "If you must go, then you will not go alone." Mamankiru stepped forward. "I will guide her to the edge of the forest, but she must enter by herself. The keeper will only speak to the one seeking the morning." Babo Lanei clenched his jaw. "Then take this." He placed something small and cool in Ao's palm. "It is your mother's Kaur necklace. Keep it close, and the ancestors may watch over you." By the time the village cocks crowed for the second time that day, even though it was still dim as dusk, Ao was ready. She carried a small calabash of water, a pouch of dried yam slices, and a walking stick Mamankiru had carved for her. The villagers gathered in silence as she stepped toward the path leading out of Oroko. Some whispered prayers. Others shook their heads, certain she would never return. The forest of whispers was not far, but even before they reached its edge, Ao could feel its presence. The air grew cooler, and strange rustling sounds echoed where no wind blew. At the forest mouth, Mamankiru stopped. "From here you walk alone," she said. "Listen to what is not being said, and you will know the way." Ao nodded, holding her stick firmly. "Thank you, Mama." As she stepped inside, the darkness wrapped around her like a thick blanket. The trees groaned softly, their leaves whispering secrets she could not quite understand. The ground beneath her feet was soft and damp, and somewhere in the distance she thought she heard the faint sound of laughter. It was light at first, almost playful, but it grew louder, echoing from all directions. Her heart pounded. She gripped her stick tighter. Then, without warning, something brushed past her leg, quick, low, and warm. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling. From the shadows came a voice, smooth and sly. "Not all who walk in darkness are lost, girl, but some are being followed." Ao froze. "Followed by what?" she whispered. The laughter came again, this time much closer. The laughter slithered around her, bouncing from one side of the forest to the other, until it felt as though it was coming from everywhere at once. Ao turned her head, straining to catch the direction, but it was no use. She gripped her walking stick tighter. "Show yourself," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. A soft rustle came from the undergrowth, and then a voice, low, teasing, spoke again. "You step into my forest without sight, yet you seek to keep her the morning? You are either foolish or very brave." "I have no choice," Ao replied. "The sun has refused to rise. If I don't find a keeper, my village will remain in darkness." A chuckle answered her. "And why should I care for your village? You live here, don't you?" she said. "If the sun never rises, even the forest will wither." For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice came closer, almost by her ear. "Clever girl. Perhaps I will help you, but not without a test." The undergrowth shifted, and she felt a sudden tug at her wrist. Startled, she pulled back, but someone slipped a pouch of yam slices from her. "Hey!" she cried. A burst of mocking laughter followed. "If you cannot find what is stolen from you, you will never find the keeper of the morning. 3 times I will hide it. Fail, and you will wander here until your bones turn to roots." Ao's chest tightened. She could not see, but she knew she would have to rely on something else. She closed her eyes, not that it mattered now, and listened. The forest had its own language. The leaves rustled, birds clicked their beaks, insects buzzed low in the grass. But in between those sounds, she heard something different. The faint crunch of movement, circling her to the left. She moved quickly, her stick sweeping in front of her until it struck something soft but solid. A grunt followed. She reached forward, and her fingers closed around her pouch. "1," she said firmly. The voice chuckled again. "Beginner's luck. Let's see if you can do it twice." This time, the forest fell silent. Not even a leaf stirred. Ao waited, her ears straining, but she heard nothing. She began to take slow steps, sweeping her stick in wide arcs. Then she felt it, the tiniest tremor through the ground, as if something light had landed behind her. She spun, swinging her stick low, and caught a quick yelp. She reached forward and snatched the pouch again. "2," she said. The voice sounded amused now. "You are not as helpless as you look." "Try me a 3rd time," Ao said, her voice steady. The forest exploded with sound. Footsteps everywhere, branches breaking. The laughter multiplied into dozens of voices. It was impossible to tell where the real thief was. Ao stopped, heart racing. She remembered Mama and Kiru's words. Listen to what is not being said. She ignored the noise and focused on the stillness within it. Beneath the chaos, there was one space too quiet, almost waiting. She lunged toward it, her hand striking against warm skin. She grabbed the pouch firmly. 3, she said through gritted teeth. The voices vanished, leaving only one. "Very well, girl. You've passed. I will take you to the river path that leads to the keeper, but you must pay me a toll." "I have nothing to give you," she said. "Oh, you do," the voice whispered. "I want your mother's cowrie necklace." Her hand instinctively flew to her neck. The necklace was the last thing her mother had left her. Giving it up felt like tearing away a piece of herself. "Why do you want it?" she asked. "Because it holds power," the voice replied simply. "Give it, and I will show you the way. Refuse, and you will wander in circles until the forest swallows you." Ao's fingers tightened around the beads. If she gave it away, she might lose the only protection she had. But if she refused, she might never find the keeper of the morning. And somewhere in the distance, she thought she heard the faint rumble of something big moving to the trees and coming closer. The rumble in the distance grew heavier, like the pounding of a giant slow heartbeat. Ao's hand gripped the cowrie necklace tighter. The smooth shells warm against her palm. She could almost feel her mother's voice in them, comforting, steady. The voice from the shadows chuckled softly. "Time is running out, girl. That sound you hear? It belongs to the hollow beast. It eats anything lost in these woods, flesh, bone, even a memory of your name." Ao's chest tightened. "If I give you the necklace, will you truly take me to the keeper of the morning?" "On my honor," the voice said, though there was a sly edge to the words that made her skin prickle. She thought of her father, of the villagers huddling under the dim sky, and of the strange stillness in the air since the sun refused to rise. She didn't have the luxury of hesitation. Her fingers lingered on the beads one last time before she slipped the necklace from her neck. "Here," she said. "Take it." The beads were plucked from her hand, and a moment later the voice spoke again, closer than before. "Follow me, and do not stray from my steps." Ao heard the faint pad of bare feet moving ahead, and she followed carefully, sweeping her stick in front of her. The air in the forest seemed to shift, growing heavier, and she caught the scent of damp earth and water. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To the River of Echoes," the voice said. "It is the only path to the Keeper, but you will need to cross, and it is not an ordinary crossing." They walked for what felt like hours until the ground beneath her feet changed from soil to smooth stone. She heard the soft rush of flowing water, but something about the sound was strange. It repeated itself, like two rivers speaking the same word at once. "Why does it sound doubled?" she asked. "Because the river holds your reflection," the voice said. "If you look into it, you will see not your face, but your soul. Step wrongly, and the river will keep it forever." Ao swallowed hard. "But I cannot see it all." "Then you must listen," the voice replied. "Each stone in the river sings its own note when you step on it. Only the path with the rising notes will take you across safely. Step on a falling note, and the water will pull you under." The voice began to hum a low tune. "I will start you on the first stone. After that, you are on your own." A warm hand briefly guided her foot forward, and she felt the cool splash of water licking at her toes. The stone beneath her gave a faint hum, low and deep. She took a step to the right, and the note rose slightly, like the beginning of a drum beat before a dance. She took another step, higher note. She smiled faintly. "I think I understand." But just as she found the rhythm, she stepped onto a stone that gave no note at all, only silence. And in that silence, the river suddenly roared to life, churning around her ankles and tugging at her feet. She flailed for balance, but the pull grew stronger, threatening to sweep her away. From the far side of the river, she thought she heard the voice call out, "Decide, quickly, girl! Step forward or be swallowed." Her heart pounded. One wrong choice, and she would lose not only her life, but the chance to bring back the morning. The river's pull was vicious, swirling around Ao's legs like an angry spirit trying to drag her under. The water rose to her knees, then her thighs, cold and relentless. She planted her walking stick against the stones, but it slipped, almost yanking her down with it. Her breath came in sharp bursts. "Think, Ao, think," she muttered to herself. Somewhere deep in her memory, she heard her mother's voice, soft and steady. When the path is unclear, close your eyes to the noise and listen for the truth. She ignored the roaring water, the pounding in her ears, and focused on the stones beneath her bare feet. Even through the rush, she felt a faint vibration under her left toes, a trembling note, climbing like the first call of the morning rooster. She lunged toward it. The stone sang a high, clear tone. The current loosened its grip slightly. Encouraged, she moved again, finding another rising note, then another, until she finally stepped onto a large, flat stone that hummed so brightly it felt as if the sound ran straight through her bones. Then silence. The air shifted. The river calmed. She realized she was standing on the other side. Her chest heaved with relief. But when she turned toward where the trickster's voice had been, there was nothing. No footsteps. No sly laughter. Not even the faintest rustle. Her fingers instinctively went to her neck, but the coward necklace was gone, traded away for the path. "You're on your own now," she whispered to herself. She took a step forward and felt the ground change again, this time dry and covered with thick roots. The trees here seemed older, their branches stretching so high they scraped the sky. Somewhere ahead, a faint chime sounded, like bells swaying in a soft breeze. She followed the sound, her stick tapping gently ahead of her until the earth dipped downward. The air grew colder. Then she heard something else, a sound like deep breathing. But it wasn't hers. The breathing was slow, heavy, and so close she could feel it against her skin. She froze. "A human here," a voice rumbled. It was deeper than thunder, rough and ancient, and it came from directly in front of her. Ao's mouth went dry. I am looking for the keeper of the morning. The breathing stopped. You carry no light, the voice said. You carry no offering, and yet you seek the one who wakes the sun. I have nothing left to give, she admitted. But if the sun doesn't rise, my people will suffer. I will do anything to make it return. There was a long pause. Then the voice let out a low laugh. Anything? Very well, but know this. The keeper of the morning is bound. If you wish to free them, you must give something more precious than sight, more precious than life. Ao frowned. What could be more precious than those? You will know, the voice rumbled. But first survive. Before she could ask what it meant, the ground beneath her erupted. Roots shot upward, wrapping around her legs, yanking her off her feet. She dropped her stick and screamed as she was pulled toward the source of that heavy breathing. Somewhere in the shadows, something enormous moved closer. She could feel its hot breath on her face now. The roots coiled tighter around Ao's legs, rough bark scraping her skin. The creature's breath was hot and damp, carrying the scent of earth and something older, like stones that had been buried for centuries. Her hands clawed at the roots, but they were as strong as iron. She forced herself to stop struggling for a moment and instead listened, feeling the subtle shifts in the tension. The roots tightened when she fought them, but loosened ever so slightly when she stilled. She drew in a deep breath. If they loosen when I'm calm, then I can use that. Keeping her body relaxed, she reached down slowly, finding the smallest root with her fingers. She tugged, not to break it, but to follow its path. The rough line led to the thicker one, and then to the massive trunk that pulsed faintly like a living heart. This is you, isn't it? She whispered toward the breathing in the dark. You're not just in the forest. You are the forest. The deep voice rumbled with faint amusement. And you are sharper than most who come here. But clever words will not free the keeper. Ao tilted her head toward the sound. Then tell me, what is more precious than sight or life? The voice lowered to a near whisper. Memory. Give me your dearest memory, and I will let you pass. Her stomach turned. Her dearest memory was of her mother's voice, warm and gentle, singing to her by the river. That memory was the only thing that gave her comfort in the darkness. If I give it to you, will I ever get it back? No, the voice said simply. She clenched her jaw. Without that memory, she would lose the last piece of her mother forever. But if she refused, the sun would never rise, and her people would remain trapped in fear. Her hands trembled as she said, Then take it. The roots pulsed once, almost in surprise. Then a strange warmth flowed into her skin, and she felt the memory, its colors, its voice, its comfort, slip away like water through her fingers. She tried to hold on to it, but it was gone, leaving only an empty ache. The roots uncoiled. She dropped to the ground, breathing hard. Go, the voice said. You have paid the price. The keeper of the morning waits at the crystal clearing. But beware, the one who bound them will not let you leave so easily. Ao retrieved her walking stick and moved forward. The air grew warmer, the ground beneath her feet smoother. She heard the soft trickle of water and the faint hum of something alive. Then she stepped into a space where the air was different, lighter, clearer. Who comes? A new voice asked, soft yet ringing like morning bells. I am Ao of Iroko, she said. I've come to free the keeper of the morning, so the sun can rise again. I am the keeper, the voice replied, but I am bound by chains of shadow. Break them, and the morning will return. How do I break them? You must face the one who cast them, the keeper said. She waits for you even now in your village. Ao's heart lurched. Idaya. Yes, the keeper said. Her cruelty did not just blind you, it trapped the dawn itself. Only by confronting her and reclaiming what was taken can the sun return. Ao's grip on her stick tightened. She had crossed the forest, passed the test, and paid the greatest price. Now she would have to return to the very place she had fled and face the woman who had destroyed her sight. And somewhere beyond the clearing, she heard the sound of feet moving fast, as if someone or something was already coming for her. The footsteps grew louder, snapping twigs and crunching leaves. Ao turned her head toward the sound, her grip on the stick firm. Whoever, or whatever, it was, it was coming straight for her. Then, out of the darkness, a familiar voice hissed. "So you made it this far." Ao's stomach nodded. "Idaiah." The stepmother's laugh was sharp and cold. "Did you think you could run into the forest and find a way to undo what I've done? Foolish girl. The darkness suits me. In it, no one sees the truth. You blinded me," Ao said, her voice steady. "But you will not blind the world forever." Idaiah's steps circled her, slow and taunting. "Do you even know what you cost yourself? You gave away the only thing keeping you safe. Without your mother's necklace, without your dearest memory, you are nothing." Ao's heart ached at the mention of her mother, but she stood her ground. "I am not nothing. I still have my will and my people. That's more than you will ever have." Idaiah scoffed. "The sun is mine to keep hidden. You cannot touch me here." But just then, the keep of the morning spoke, its voice bright and ringing. "Ao, the shadow chains are bound to her heart. Strike it, and you will set me free." Ao lifted her stick, listening, not to Idaiah's words, but to the sound of her steps. She waited for the exact moment her stepmother stepped close enough and swung. The stick struck something solid, and a sharp cry rang out. At once, a shattering sound echoed through the clearing, like glass breaking underwater. The air trembled, and light, warm, golden light, burst from somewhere deep above. The keeper's voice swelled. "The morning is free." A wind rushed through the forest, lifting the scent of flowers and wet leaves. The warmth of the sun touched Ao's skin, and though she could not see it, she felt it deep in her bones. Idaiah stumbled back, gasping, "No, no!" She turned to flee, but the light followed her, wrapping around her like vines. In moments, she was gone, swallowed by the brilliance. Then there was silence. Ao felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You have done it," the keeper said. "The dawn will return to your people, and the balance is restored." "But my sight," Ao began. The keeper's voice softened. "What was taken cannot be returned. But know this, sight is only one way of seeing. You now carry the vision of the heart, and that will guide you better than eyes ever could." When Ao stepped out of the forest, the villagers gasped. Above them, the first rays of sunlight in many days painted the sky in gold and pink. Children ran to touch her hands. Elders bowed their heads in thanks. Baba Olenii wept openly. "My daughter," he said, holding her close, "you have brought back the morning." From that day forward, Ao became known as the morning bringer. She could not see the sun, but she felt its warmth on her face every day. And whenever people asked how she had done it, she would smile and say, "Light is not something you wait for. It is something you fight for, even in the dark." And so, harmony returned to Oroko, and the people remembered the lesson for generations. True vision is not in the eyes, but in the courage to do what must be done.